Hello.
Hi there.
Um, so we're here in King's College, Cambridge, and it's been a great day. We worked with the King's Men this afternoon, the choral scholars from the chapel, and it's their chance to sort of break out and sing some other, well, close harmony numbers, or in actual fact, kind of how we began as the King's Singers back in the day, and they're continuing the strong traditions. And there's choral music is in good hands here in Cambridge, and there are some very fine young singers, and they make a great sound together too.
Oh, so many choirs. Yeah, no, we basically started, we arrived from Düsseldorf in the morning, having sung in Holland last night. And yeah, we arrived today in Cambridge and were welcomed by three of the current choral scholars from King's Choir. And went to grab a bite to eat and a coffee and caught up. And sort of, it's funny for me coming back because obviously, well, I was only recently, up until recently, a student, and I left St John's in 2012. So we had a bit of a dynamic there, and with the King's guys, and it was really great to catch up and see what's going on today in today's Cambridge, I guess. And then we started the workshop with them, and they sang. What did they sing?
They sang Salvata Mundi by Tellus, and then they sang an arrangement of an Oasis number called
Wonderwall, mate.
Wonderwall.
Yeah,
I beg your
yeah.
pardon. So now, ciao Federico, and so
Hi, Jessica.
um, thanks for all you people who are signing on. It's great to see you. If anyone has any questions to kick off, then we'd be very happy to answer those. But otherwise, I thought it might be interesting for us to have a chat today about our backgrounds as essentially training as choristers, and then training as soloists, and now going back to being choristers, with the flexibility of being in the group and having moments to sing solo, lines and pieces, but mainly actually being part of I guess 6 people trying to create one instrument, which is completely different to being a soloist in an opera chorus or things that we've done in our past.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. So, I mean, I guess in terms of the whole discussion of soloist versus chorister, I guess it's helpful if we talk basically about our past. So, in my case, well, quite similar really, but I'll just talk about my case. Became a chorister about the age of 8. My dad was a choir master as well, so that sort of had a really strong influence on me and wanting to sing in a choir. Then I joined a choir, and then was at St John's, Cambridge, singing every day, evensong in the Anglican choral tradition, which obviously seems to be a bit of a theme in the group. And so there I learnt basically how to sing Renaissance, anything from Renaissance music through to, I don't know, I guess a bit of Finzi and Poulenc and other contemporary art songs and romantic composers, but then also onto some tricky modern commissions as well. And I did that right through actually until I was about 21. So that was really, I was a choral singer, but obviously a lot of choral singers have aspirations of remember these aspirations of wanting, when you get asked to do the solo in choir, obviously that's like, I got the solo. Often there's a little bit of a hierarchy system within a chorister tradition, because you need the older kids to lead by way of example, head choristers, etc. And then at the other end you've got the probationers. So there is a kind of a certain sense of aiming towards getting the solos, and being good enough for that, and then having a sense of team pride within that. And then naturally, of course, because solos are the ultimate thing and you want to be able to sing them well, then you start thinking about, well, how do I go from being a choral singer to then actually becoming a soloist, someone who could sing Bach and Bach arias, and in my case as a tenor, evangelize, and perhaps then on to opera, so that's generally how my ambitions for wanting to progress as a singer came about. And then I then I went on to study solo singing at the Royal Academy of Music in London on the master's course there. And then weirdly came back to choral singing.
Let's pause there, and before
Yeah.
I tell you my life story, which is equally
More interesting. It's more interesting.
probably actually, yeah, it's probably
Yeah,
a
we
lot more
grew up in
interesting.
Kiwi.
We've got a couple of questions that have come in. So one is preparing for an audition. You know, some advice for people that are preparing for upcoming auditions, whether they be at colleges in Cambridge or Oxford or in London, or for choral foundations, or in America or and beyond. I think advice. I think that from my perspective, I think it's really helpful to sing something that shows off your voice in its best light. I think an audition is to test what you can do, not what you can't do, and so focus on the things that you do well, and choose repertoire that really suits that, and shows you off in the best possible light. If they want a varied program, then offer contrasting things, but focus on what makes you sound good, because that's what they want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday, Hunye Kim. Just F1. So keep the comments coming in, by the way. It's great to actually to see lots of them, and Chris is writing some of them down. I'm trying to keep track. Hi, Bob McCraney.
Hey, Bob.
See you at the next summer school. Yeah, from my point of view, I completely agree. You've got to, we're all different voice types. I remember when I was auditioning for the Royal Academy of Music in London for the Masters vocal performance course. I was, I still am a young tenor really, but I was a very young tenor then, 21, and and obviously you want to sing repertoire which is impressive, but at the same time, if you sing, Mozart aria, something like Da la sua pace, a really good example, absolutely, known as being one of the trickiest audition pieces ever, because on the one hand, most tenors can probably get by, the range wise it doesn't go above a G, so you can probably get by singing it sort of fairly well ish, do an okay job kind of vibe, but actually it's one of the most technically demanding arias to sing, to make it sound effortless and really meaningful. So it's one of those sort of tricky ones to decide. I think you just need to choose, as you say, repertoire which is suitable for you. If you're a young singer, there's no rush to try to sing very demanding music. I think go for the sort of the technically more simple option, but sing it really well, and I think that tends to be more impressive. I think was that was a question, wasn't it, in terms
I think
of
so.
Was it specifically solo auditions?
Well, it could be both. I think it was for Kings possibly. So
Okay.
I'm not quite sure of all the requirements, but choose stuff that makes you sound good.
Yeah, and of course the King Singers audition process is very, very different.
Well, it is, isn't it? For us, if for those of you who might be interested, the person who has decided to move on steps out from the group, and the auditionees come in one by one, and they stand in the group and they sing with us, because we're sure that any number of the people that we invite to audition for us could sing a stonking aria, but actually, what can they leave their vocal ego off stage and be part of a corporate sort of goal? And I think that's something that we are particularly looking for. There's another question here, Jules, and it was, how in the King Singers do we work on making our sound homogenous? What are some of the things that we do to create that King Singer sound? And are there techniques that we work on in a rehearsal, or?
Well, I mean, we've just been working with the King's Men, who are the choral scholars at King's College, Cambridge, this afternoon, because that's where we are, in case you didn't know. Currently in a guest room, and one of the it's amazing group of guys, of musicians. Arguably one of the finest choral institutions in the world, and and how do you go about making them sound better? Chorally, obviously, and that's when we start to look to our own sound. And I think it's a combination of things, a blend and match of vowels. I think a lot of it is actually to do with, you can be a fantastic musician and a singer, but to be a good choral musician, what does that mean? I think a lot of it is about attitude and approach and willingness to sacrifice your own, as you were just saying, your vocal ego in order to fit in, even if, for example, you suspect that you might be one of the better or the more senior singers in a choir, does that mean that you should, you know, almost, if you will, selfishly cut through a texture in order to really milk that part and get the most out of it for your sort of self-satisfaction? Or should you succumb and encourage others to match your sound in a very humble group intentioned way, and then you know, potentially have a more successful sound? I don't know how what are your...
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You know, I think having I guess this is maybe a time to sort of give you some of my sort of life history. You know, I grew up in New Zealand, where there's really at the moment only one choral foundation left based on the English model, and that's in Christchurch, New Zealand. And there's a choir school, and the boys are day boys there, and they have morning rehearsals before school and after school, and they have evensong a few times a week, and a Sunday morning service as well. And so it's one of the few places outside of England that's based on the English model, and that's what I grew up in. So when I moved to England about over 5 years ago, I felt quite at home, because actually I'd been doing everything that the guys in England had been doing. They'd just done more of it, and everyone in the back row singing in choirs in England invariably had been choristers and had had that training, whereas in New Zealand fewer of the back row had actually been boy sopranos or trebles, if you like, and come through that choir training from a very young age. So after my 15 years or so of singing in choirs, I had a thought that maybe I should move to England and try and be a professional singer. And I was pretty open-minded as to what kind of singing I would do. I thought, you know, could it be oratorio? Could it be lieder? Could it be art song? Could it be recital work? Could it be opera? Was it choral work? Was it continuing, you know, singing in choirs? And I didn't know, and I was kind of prepared to do anything and see which suited me best. So then, about a year after moving over, I got an invitation to join the King Singers, and so I guess that kind of made my decision for me. But I had intended to go down possibly the soloistic route, but I wasn't sure. I trained to be a soloist at university. I'd done a performance singing degree, and then I thought it's probably worth having a backup career, so I trained to be a teacher, and very much enjoyed doing that for a few years. And certainly, you know, sticking on the topic of soloist versus chorister, you know, I was weekly having that challenge of studying for a finals recital as a soloist, and also singing the weekly evensongs at the cathedral, and I happily did that. And I think, to be honest, as a soloist, if you want to go down the operatic path, I suspect the majority of work in the operatic world is probably in a chorus rather than as a soloist, because there are fewer principals on stage than there are in the chorus, invariably. And so actually having a choral training doesn't you know, isn't bad at all, because I think it does you lots of favors in terms of you know, being able to sing in an ensemble and be part of something that's bigger than, you know, a group of individuals. So I think there's a great deal of skill in being a chorister and a soloist. I think they're two different techniques, and I think that's something that I would encourage people to look at. You know, a choral technique and a soloistic technique, and the two can work side by side, but they are different. And if you're finding that you're getting confused by singing in one and not being able to do the other, then perhaps focus on one for a bit and feel like you've honed it before trying to do too many things at once. I think that's you know, a place to sort of begin, perhaps.
Sure, yeah. Just to say, Johnny's now joined us over here.
Hi.
And so Johnny will be kindly trying to help us sort of sift through lots of questions, which you're very kindly and, you know, kindly sending our way. Do keep them coming in. He'll try and respond to some of them. So I guess moving on. I mean, to do with Bruce's point, you know, it's a big thing. You know, a lot of opera singers or singers who train in bel canto singing, you know, they think to themselves that they you know, the choral singing is so different, and it is, of course, technically speaking. But it's interesting. In my case, I've I started training in the bel canto, and I really enjoyed that, and I really grew fond of it, and I developed a real passion for it, and so in a way, part of my goal in life really is to sort of, musically speaking, is to see if I can really excel in both of those worlds, and I really genuinely feel that they aren't mutually exclusive. If you look at the history of the King Singers, some King Singers, all they've ever wanted to do, vocally speaking, is of course sing, in the best choral singing to the best possible degree, and obviously the group, the King Singers, is a great place in which to aim to do that. However, there have been other singers who have actually, they've trained. Stephen Connolly comes to mind. When he auditioned for the group, it was this, phenomenal operatic bass voice, and he was, I believe, about to go and pursue a career in that. But then, he was able to modify the sound that he made without it being sort of damaging, which again is another big concern that a lot of people have. Can I sing choral music without, ruining my vocal cords, or whatever the thinking is? And I think if you have a healthy approach to it, which doesn't, you're not singing Palestrina really loudly in a straight tone kind of way, which really feels like you're burning your throat, that horrible feeling that a lot of, that some, consorts might go for that sound, and I personally find that very challenging. I can't do that. But if you have a slightly more open-minded approach to it, as I say, the two things aren't mutually exclusive: solo singing and choral singing.
I'd
Soloist versus chorister,
Johnny, are there any questions that have come in that we should answer?
Yes, there are lots. Have you answered this? So do most, if not all, of the King Singers have to be choral scholars or choristers before? Have you answered that already?
No.
We haven't answered that. I'll answer that. I think that's a very good question. The strength of the group is that each member has had a similar upbringing and a similar approach to singing, both in the choir and individually. And I think it means that you're drawing from the same pool of resources. So when you're looking for a successor in any of the voice parts, by choosing someone who's had a similar upbringing, who has trained their voice and their approach to music in a very similar way, it allows them to fit more seamlessly into the lineup without having a long period of integration, because essentially one person leaves and before you know it there's another concert and the new person begins, and that's it. And there are some rehearsals, sure, but it's not like you've got months to sort of ease into the job. You're the new guy and straight away there's a new lineup. So by having a similar approach, and I include myself in that because my training, as I mentioned, was based on the English model. Whilst being a New Zealander, I have a British passport, and I feel very much at home in the British choral world, and so I was able to integrate perhaps faster than if I hadn't come from that background. And I think that would go for everyone. And so every King Singer has either trained as a young treble chorister and then up through to be a choral scholar and a lay clerk before joining this job. And so that's why there's been this incredible consistency of approach across nearly 50 years. And so it is something that I think is critical to the success of the group in the future, that we are inviting people who have come from a similar background.
Yeah, I completely agree. I saw a question earlier which said, do you ever get stage fright as a King Singer? I think this is an interesting topic. I don't know about you, Brew, but particularly for me, as the new guy who's, when you're faced with having to learn and memorize a lot of music and stand up on stage in front of a lot of people and perform, and not just sing the notes correctly, but actually really perform and engage and convince. That is, after all, what we try to do as artists. It can be terrifying, of course. If I think, again, relating to the topic of conversation, soloist versus chorister, we've trained it as choristers. A lot of us, as children, we had to stand behind wooden stools in a church or a chapel or a cathedral, and we had to sing with, maybe 15 other boys, the same part, and you have the support of everyone around you. You sort of, as a little 8-year-old, you're one of the younger people in the choir, so you're expected to sort of just follow with your finger and, the music that is, and just cruise along and just take it in. Then on the other end of the time scale in the choir, you're then expected to lead, and the pressure's on, and you get solos, and but the thing is, you build up your own guard a little bit in a choir situation, because you're not exposed as much as everyone, as much as a soloist. You can just go a little bit on autopilot, and and you don't really feel the spotlight. Then when you get older, you go through puberty, and you start feeling a little bit more. Well, most people, I think, not really.
So
Yeah. So so and then you become more self-conscious, and I think there is a crucial stage. We do a lot of workshops with high school choirs, all around the world, but obviously in the most recent tour to America, a lot of them were, in fact, in one case, the high school choirs were sort of as good as the university choirs. I don't know if you remember that workshop, but that was very impressive. But in a way, you can understand why people become scared. It's a kind of I guess perhaps it's a little bit hormonal to start with, but it is scary to stand up in front of people and perform like that. I think when you then have your first solo experience, Chris and I were talking about our final recitals that we've done, where you sing, some Schubert songs or some Handel or whatever, some Britten on stage on your own with a pianist. It's a joint performance. That can be terrifying, singing a whole recital from memory. So I think for me, what has really helped is just really knowing the music inside out, to the point where you're literally, before you go to bed, for me, I just often just go over music in my head, just in that sort of pre-sleep moment, and just double check that it's all there. And if you know the music, if you're confident on stage, then that really helps with avoiding stage fright, I think. And if you just relax and stop worrying, negative association with singing, thinking, oh my goodness, what if I get this wrong? What if I forget? That is very unhelpful. What you have to do is be sort of almost blindly confident, like, it's going to be great. It's going to be, that's often what I think when I have a new memory piece that I've just memorized and I have to perform in a solo. A recent example being Gaudete. I've got some Latin text in that, which I think one time I may or may not have fluffed up. And by one time I may or may not mean a few times. When I first joined the group. And so it's about overcoming that and sort of associating positive energy with that in order to, surrounding this sort of darkness with light. I was actually speaking to someone the other day about...
You've been watching Lord of the Rings.
Well, no, I was speaking...
You sound like Gandalf.
No, I was speaking to someone the other day about the Harry Potter reference of Dementors. You've got the Dementors, which are this sucking this the life out of people around them, and really being a sort of metaphor for depression. And then you've got the Patronuses, which the wizards and witches cast, which is essentially this just invincible light, which then penetrates this darkness and really and banishes it, really. And I really do believe, and it sounds a little bit maybe wishy-washy if you like, but I really genuinely have this kind of imagery in my head a lot of the time. I think it really helps me. Sorry, I've monopolised on the conversation for the last 5 minutes, but yeah, Brew.
Well, I think to answer your question a little bit more succinctly, I would say there are two types of nerves. There's nerves of unpreparedness, and there's nerves of preparedness, and those are like exciting nerves. And nerves of unpreparedness, I would not recommend. There's no fun being on stage and not being confident. But I think it's okay to have nerves of excitement. It means that you're alive and things are working, and that's a good thing, because there's an audience out there who are willing you to do something well. They've paid money often, and they've come to hear you. And so, in terms of having stage fright, see the audience as your friend rather than this kind of monster who wants you to not sing so well, because it's just not the case. They'd rather stay at home than pay money to hear you not sing well. So know that they're there to support you. And I like the Harry Potter reference as well. I'm not such a Harry Potter fan myself. I don't not like it. It's just
I'm a big fan. What can I say?
Jules reads it every week.
Well, I was the same age as weirdly, because I'm 25. So when J.K. Rowling was writing them, when Harry entered the first year of school, I was that age as well. So
Sure, I could
I've
have
actually
seen you
grown up with
cast as Harry Potter.
Thank you so much. Well, if I had a little scar, yeah, that'd be quite cool. So weirdly, when I watched the films, I was the same age as all the actors, basically, growing up. So they see my age, so that was kind of cool. But now I watch it, and Harry Potter 1, and it's just like really, everyone seems really young and so like little child kind of thing. Right, what are we looking at now? More
Have we
questions?
ever had to start a song over? Fortunately, not in my time, and I'm not anticipating having to do it anytime soon.
Yeah, we have.
Do you think we have?
Yeah, I remember. Sorry, hello.
Hello.
Hello, media man here. Yeah, in Subculture, don't you remember? We were on microphones doing that Great American Songbook launch in New York.
Oh my goodness, you've got a good memory.
Well, there we are. Sorry.
Apparently we have. It's once in my nearly 4 years in the group, so it doesn't happen very often, and I can't even remember why we would have done that, but there you go, it happens to the best of them. Oh, we started in the wrong key. Here's some advice: so always start in the right key.
That sounds pretty solid.
Just a lot easier.
Yeah. No.
Any advice?
I've just seen a comment from Julius Fu, which is about the Incognitos, which kind of it's a little bit personal insofar as that is a close harmony group from Eton College. And I don't know, I guess advice in terms of how does one go from being a school close harmony group to, what do you do afterwards, and how do you develop your passion for close harmony singing, or indeed singing generally? I guess, well, the first thing that comes to mind there is, of course, see if you can go to a university which has a good choral tradition and join that. And I don't know, I guess this, again, the soloist versus chorister idea, if you are passionate about singing, the main thing is just don't worry about, you have to have a sense of patience and not rushing ahead. I know when I was at university, all my friends seemed to not want to go into music because it was too scary to try it as a musician in terms of your career and settling down and getting a house and everything. But I think if you really want to do it, I think you know that you're happy to not have the pressure of everyone else around you becoming lawyers and trying to get internships in order to then get a job, training contract, or join a well-paid bank, or all of those kind of things. I think if you're in the arts, you're there to stay and or at least try it. And in your case, Chris, I know you did a backup option of your
Well,
teaching.
it was because two very fine, three very fine bass baritones from New Zealand. Teddy Tahu Rhodes was a trained accountant. And it was actually in his early 30s, after practicing for several years, that he decided to go full-time singing, and I'm so pleased he did. And I think many audiences around the world are too. Jonathan Lamanu was, now let me get this right, did he do a double major in classics and law? I might have got that wrong, apologies if I have, but again, to illustrate my point, he had a secondary option, and Jared Holt, and another great mentor of mine, was a trained lawyer before he came over and did great things in Europe. So it was always now I was never going to do law, and whilst I enjoyed accounting and classics at high school, it wasn't something I wanted to pursue. So teaching it was for me. But I think. I know I've got a friend who came to England whose goal was to be a professional chorister. That's all he ever wanted to do. And I think that's great, because people often think, oh no, I've got to be a soloist. Oh no, I couldn't possibly sing with a choir. And I think, really? Jules and I and Johnny and David, Chris and Tim, we're having the time of our lives, travelling the world, meeting really interesting people, and we get to wake up every day doing something that we love, and we sing in a choir, and I think it doesn't matter what it is, what your version of making it is, whether that's as a soloist or a chorister. Figure out what it is that you love doing, and really try and pursue that, whether that's teaching during the week and singing in the weekends, or doing a solo gig once a month or every 6 months, or singing the arias in the Messiah once a year, and whatever your version of making it is, really just throw everything at it, to try and make it work. And I think it doesn't matter whether you want to be a soloist or a chorister. I think, or both, which I think is really interesting as well for people that want the challenge.
So another interesting question: what do you think about the virtual choir phenomenon? Is it good news for the choir singing world? How about pentatonics? So I say interesting question because at the moment, in the group, we've been going the group's been going for 47 years now, and we have this in the previous Facebook Live video, we touched on some of my colleagues touched on the topic of relevance and what the ethos of the group is, tradition versus progressiveness or progression. What's the technical abstract noun for that?
Let's not
go down that route.
Progressiveness is good.
Progressiveness, I like that. Cool. And obviously the virtual choir phenomenon is, it's contemporary, it's relevant, it's Facebook. You guys are watching this right now. It's obviously the internet is extremely important and technology is extremely important, and to embrace that it's just part of as it were the evolution of society and how we're functioning as humans in this day. So I think it's great, and to connect people, choir singing in a choir is about community, as well, in terms of the non-musical side. It's about community. It brings people together. Most choirs are kind of people who, take the Americans for example. They'll meet, once or maybe more than once a week, but not every day. And it will be, they'll have jobs, and it will be something fun that they do as an extracurricular activity to their work, and this brings people together. And it creates friendships, it creates bonds through music and social. And so a virtual choir surely is just an extension of that. It's, Facebook connects people, I looked at Mark Zuckerberg's post the other day about the new child that was born, and him and his wife donating 99% of their Facebook shares, to a charity, their own charity, but a charity nonetheless. And he was talking about how important it is that people were commenting on his post saying how, especially people of the older generation, how amazing it was that they could be connected to their old friends that they hadn't seen for decades and for years. And that's obviously that shows the power of the social networking and the internet. But in the same way, virtual choirs can connect people from around the world together, and it's another form of internationalism and multiculturalism, which it's all positive stuff. It's what we're so proud of in England, in Britain, and indeed specifically in London. That's where I live. It's people from all backgrounds, all ethnicities. The group itself. It's got a diversity to it. I'm half Japanese. Tim's got sort of ethnic background. Where are you from?
He's
Guyana, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tim. And it's. I think it's great. It's all about bringing people together. That's basically what a choir is.
The other one was pentatonics. Well, I haven't been as lucky as Jules and Johnny to have seen them, but I hope I can one day.
Johnny's actually friends with Arby the bass and often gets backstage passes, but
preferential treatment really cool. for a bass. Well, we'll have to sing a bit low.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, I'll stay. I'm happy with tenor actually. So.
Are you? Okay. Okay, cool. Feel happy with that. There's a lovely question from Laura, who came to our summer school. What do we think? Let me get the wording right. A 21st century musician.
Right.
What is a 21st century musician? It's a really interesting question. Well, if we can link it to today's topic, soloist versus chorister, I would say it's someone who is flexible and is willing to do things that perhaps they hadn't envisaged themselves doing, in order to be relevant to a wider sort of audience base. They're prepared to maybe sacrifice some of their vocal ego. I come back to that point because I think it goes in various ways, whether that's as a chorister or as a soloist. If they're like, oh no, I only sing traditional opera. I'm not a snob myself, and I hope I haven't offended anyone by saying that I have no problem with popera, because there's a huge market for it. And there are people that do it well. Now, I also love opera. I might prefer that, but I have nothing against opera, because if more people can hear arias that aren't sung in their traditional context, and therefore find an avenue into opera, I think that's important, because clearly opera is doing something that opera hasn't achieved, and is drawing it to a wider audience. Now, whether the traditional opera fans appreciate that or not is a different question. But I think it's about a 21st century musician has to be adaptable. If you're going to an audition, you have to be able to show the person that is auditioning you that you're prepared to do anything, you know, and that you're flexible. If you're in a choir and your conductor asks you to sing in a certain way, it's because he or she has an idea of the overall effect that you individually have to fit into. And I think if you're unwilling to do that, that's fine, but maybe you should reconsider some of your priorities and what you want to get out of singing, because I think a 21st century musician needs to be really adaptable and flexible.
I mean, you know, even in the I remember when I was at the academy, you know, I was only a Royal Academy of Music in London, that is. I was only a first year master student, but there were people around me who were older and much more experienced in solo singing and opera singing, of course. There's the opera course there, which is the diploma. And, you know, and they would always say, you know, these days you just can't get away with just only doing opera and just only doing oratorio. You know, you have, and indeed leader recital singing, you have to conform in a way. You have to go for the balance. You have to develop multiple skills, be flexible, and be willing to, you know, on the one hand sing a Messiah arias, but then on the other hand, you know, sing in an opera chorus at a festival, you know.
Or sing the national anthem at a rugby game.
Yeah, well, exactly. You know, or indeed occasionally, you know, opera gala concerts, or maybe, I mean, you know, popera, which again, I have no problem with it, but you know, it's one of those things which I can just imagine my opera singer friends going, yeah, that's never going to happen.
Well, if someone in the opera industry is earning a living because they are prepared to do that, then how can you sort of, you know, have any sort of ill feeling towards them that they were prepared to do something that you weren't, you know? And if you're sitting waiting for the next contract to come and waiting for the phone to go, then I think you're just sort of treading water. And I think you've got to be proactive these days. And I think if you really want something, you've got to go out and get it, you know.
Yeah.
For me, I had a long-term, you know, goal of being a professional singer, and I knew if I stayed in New Zealand, the opportunities were more limited, and I wanted to see what I could do on the world stage. And it happened very nicely that I had a British girlfriend, and I still have the same one. You'll be pleased to know. You know, but I knew I didn't want to be one of those teachers that had a chip on their shoulder because they never quite had a go at doing what they actually wanted to do in life. I hate the phrase where, you know, people that can do and people that can't teach. I can't stand it because I love teaching, and I think that's a cop-out. But I didn't want to be a teacher that always went, you know, what if? So, you know, throw yourself, buy a one-way plane ticket somewhere and see what happens, you know, because you just never know.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to end up on some beach somewhere when I'm retired and just run a bar or something. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, no. So that's an interesting one in terms of soloist versus chorister. You know, are they mutually exclusive? Other question?
There's a question. How many scarves do I own? Well, it's a very good question. I would appreciate some more. So I'm looking to get some nice oranges. But this is a nice one from Bodgy. If you like that stuff, if you don't,
market, innit?
I wouldn't buy it if you don't like it. But any advice? Please send me a message of where I can buy some nice scarves. I'm on the hunt for some more. It's Christmas time.
You used to spell popera, it's not everyone knows.
Popera. Popera is pop opera. It is. I'm probably going to get into trouble with trying to come up with a proper definition, but someone might describe it as a watered down version of opera.
Ooh,
that might be unfair, but I think it's a way of making something that has traditionally been. How would you say this? Possibly even elitist.
I mean, a classic case is Nessun Dorma, of course.
The classic case is Nessun Dorma. Think the three tenors. You've got Pavarotti, Jose Carreras, and Placido Domingo. And these are three classically trained singers who had strong careers singing, you know, traditional opera, and then someone had a good idea. Why don't we put them all together and put them in front of stadiums worth of people rather than an opera house? And then they sang on the big stadiums, and they toured the world, and they sang at the Olympic Games, and they were huge, you know. And whilst they still probably sang, you know, in a similar way that they always had, it was a different market, and they were publicised in a different way, and they brought opera to the masses, and it ceased to become elitist.
As it were, popular opera, I guess.
Popular opera, and they made things that you would normally only hear with an orchestra in a concert hall with everyone dressed up in black tie or whatever. Actually, you could just go to a concert and hear these great songs, and I guess it's gone on from that, hasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I think. That's the key thing, because obviously those, you know, in the classical music world, people know those as being some of the greatest voices ever. And indeed, they were the epitome of bel canto singing, which again, that term, it seems to be revered, and you know, I don't want to say that there's a sort of certain amount of snobbishness around it, but it was certainly quite a closed understanding of that type of singing. And since then, I guess people have deviated from the technical ability of what these guys so ceaselessly strive to achieve in terms of their technique, but the same kind of music, you know, which has been made popular, is now sung in a slightly more, well, still classical way, but in a less traditional way, I guess, a less Italian way, if you like.
Making it accessible.
Yeah, you know, the argument is that people who are less technically capable are singing these famous works and making lots of money from it, and it's just. But I don't know if there's a market for it. If people like the music fundamentally, you know. Like the X Factor, you know, they've made famous people famous.
Yeah, if millions of people are buying albums, then obviously something's working. You know, whether or not it's to your taste is really not the point. The fact is, there's enough people in the world, and there are enough markets for people to enjoy lots of different types of singing. So,
and if it touches you, you know, I mean, one of the most, I mean, just in my short time in the group, a year and 2 months, one of the most amazing things is when people come up to you after a concert and say that music, you guys just, it really touched my, you know, my soul, or whatever it is. You know, most recently, I think I've really enjoyed the both singing and the effect of the Poulenc Christmas motets, which we're singing for the first time as a group all together, or
the first time. 4 motets for a time at Christmas.
And people have really, in the last few concerts in Holland and Germany, they've really they found that moving, and I find it, you know, sort of spine tingling to sing. It's this the opening of the O Magnum Mysterium, the Poulenc. It's really it's amazing, and you know, no matter what you're singing, you know, opera, popera, classical, you know, jazz,
folk,
you know,
rock,
you know, French music, you know, whatever. Like, it's if you can really move people, be it to exhilaration in a sort of, I don't know, in a sort of death metal concert, or sort of a sense of a spiritual affinity in a sacred program, say, you know, that is fundamentally what we're trying to achieve, isn't it?
You've done your job as an entertainer, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know.
There you go. So, Johnny, what's the next question?
Oh, sorry, I have
time
one.
to wrap it up, actually.
Is it time to go?
Almost the time, but there's time for one more question.
Yeah, one more question.
Okay, a good one. Oh, so let me
Johnny's choosing the best question. If he doesn't choose yours, then you can direct any sort of complaints towards him.
Yeah, Jonathan Howard, that is.
Yeah. We'll give you his email address.
Yeah, not his mobile number at this stage, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yeah. Okay, here we are.
Please choose the right one, Johnny.
I do. Shall I read it out?
Okay,
yes.
Here we go.
Okay, here's Johnny.
So, hi again.
And the winner is...
I put my glasses on to...
We have no drum roll, but...
So, the last one is going to be from someone you know, Hannes Diggelman. Do you still enjoy singing in bigger choirs sometimes? And if so, why?
It's a good question.
Weird for me to see myself now on the screen.
Do we still enjoy singing in big choirs? And if so, why? What? Do you want to go first?
Okay, I'll be brief. I mean, obviously...
You'll be brief.
Relatively.
I look forward to that.
Yeah, cheers, mate. I haven't really King Singers is a full-time job, so we don't really get any time to sing in anything apart from the group. But when we sung in amassed choirs for joint concerts, collaborations, we often go to a place and we'll do a workshop in an afternoon with a group, and then we'll do a joint concert with them. It'll be mostly us singing, but they'll sing a few pieces, and perhaps we'll sing a piece or two together. Then, actually, what comes to mind is the USSR song that we sing.
Oh yeah.
Where
Back in the USSR.
And we we sing with unusually 10 other people on our individual parts, and I think I do enjoy it because although often it might be a less experienced choir, a non-professional choir, you still feel the kind of the team spirit within your part. And then, because you've got, in our case, our colleagues dotted around the hall, we still feel a sort of a slightly more distant, but nonetheless present connection with them. And kind of, it's a great, it sort of, you can feel the team dynamic. And so it feels a bit like a slightly weaker electric, current flowing through us than when we're standing at seas together on stage, where it's very, very live and in the moment. But it's still nonetheless rewarding. I don't know about you.
No, well, for me, I love singing in large choirs. I can't remember the last time that happened, but it was probably in the last few years. Anyway. Oh, I know when it was. With the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, and we sang something with them, and wow, goodness me, that is an experience which I hope you all get a chance to do one day. But we also sang at BYU Idaho in front of 10,000 people with the orchestra and big choir, and you sang the solo.
Oh, Holy Night.
Oh, Holy Night. Oh,
just me.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's incredible, isn't it? Because it's like the joy that we get every night that we perform, we get to share with 6 people, or with 5 others. All you've got to do is multiply that, and you have the same energy and excitement, and emotion of everyone, and you feel that combined. And I think that's one of the joys of singing in a large choir. Plus, there's a different kind of repertoire that you have access to. I'll never forget singing in a performance of Walton's Belshazzar's Feast.
Oh, yes.
Or the Verdi Requiem. Some of these large scale works. It is thrilling to be part of this huge sound. It's so cool. And I love this, the sort of chamber quality of performance that we're able to achieve on a daily basis as well. But it's different, isn't it? I don't prefer one. I like them both because they have different. They offer different experiences.
Yeah, I mean all I know is just keep singing as much as possible, and if it's whether it's in a big chorus or in a small consort or on your own on stage with an accompanist. That's the joy, It's soloist
or chorister
or both. Yeah, exactly.
Just do what you love, and really follow that. It's so important, and you just never know where it might end up. And say yes to things, because you open a door and there's another corridor and there's all sorts of other doors off that, and you open another one, and you just never know where it might take you. So be willing to engage with people and with new ideas that maybe you hadn't thought were up your street, but give them a go. What's the worst that can happen? It's not for me. I'll try something else.
Cool, guys. Well, I think it's time to unfortunately end there. We've got to get off. I'm going to Evensong at St John's now.
Nice.
So I'm going to park my car as well.
I might go off to Evensong at King's just to rival you.
It's actually it's already started. I'm sorry.
It started.
Yeah,
I won't be doing
half
that.
An hour. Well, it's about 20 minutes through. Anyway, guys. But take care, and we look forward to our next Facebook video.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.